diverse set of speakers with us here, and this one's going to be an interesting one. And with your due permission, gentlemen, if I may just start with the young climate change activist who's present here amongst all of us. Ridhima, your journey with this cause began when you were 9 years old. It's been, what, 6 years since? How has this journey been? Tell us a little about it. You're the voice of the young generation. How do you see, the current scenario, the changing times that we find ourselves in, and most importantly, what, according to you, are the critical steps that businesses and governments need to take in order to lead a more sustainable life going forward?
I mean, it's a pleasure, and I think I'm the least knowledgeable amongst everybody who spoke earlier and even in the panel right now. But see, I mean, throughout the years that I've worked, most of my work has been in and around talking about perspective of young people, how we see the world, how we see, what's been going on with, different sectors and everything. And being somebody who started at an age of 9, I believe it was never a choice for me. I mean, I was cautious about environment. My parents worked in the same field. I knew, okay, you have to respect it, you have to conserve, and you have to be responsible. But it was not a choice, to be an activist. Saw the floods, felt it, I struggled with nightmares and, had this fear of dying someday because of a natural disaster, seeing a world where nobody cares about. I mean, that's what we feel as young people, seeing a world and living in a world where nobody cares about your generation. And things, more or less, everybody seeks their profit in anything. Even right now, we're here, we're talking about, what we've done and everything. Everybody has their own profit, everybody has their own agenda, but nobody thinks of what they are, specifically for the older generation. Now, when I say older generation, I'm not blaming everybody, but majority of the older generation, people responsible for majorly contributing to this crisis, they've never seen what they're leaving behind for us. What's going to be left for me, my generation, in the coming years when we become, the stakeholders, when we get the power to be part of the decision making, because right now we don't have that much of a power when it comes to making decisions. So when we will have the power of making decisions, running companies, being in different sectors, what will be left for us? There would be nothing but crying in a sorrow that, okay, nothing was done when I wanted things to be changed. And I think when it comes to, wanting the corporate sector and wanting the governments to change, I think we need more transparency. We need more opportunities where we can come with the government, with different sectors. We can sit with them, have, a conversation at the table and feel that, yes, we are heard. Because right now we're doing everything we can. But the thing is, we never feel that we are heard enough. Young people are given a voice on the table, but what we see, what we say, is it really considered? Is it really given an importance? We have different ideas. I saw even when, earlier in the discussion as well, younger generation was getting praised for, the way we live, how cautious we are and everything, and how it's kind of inbuilt. But I think it is somewhere or the other the fear that we have right now that's making us live a life like that. And to be honest, coming from Haridwar, which is kind of like, very spiritual place, and coming from a state like Uttarakhand, I've seen nature, I've seen abundance, I've seen great biodiversity, but I've also seen it getting destroyed for profit. So the thing is, I am here right now, I'm living in a country, I'm living in a world where I see my future getting torn into pieces, but not having much power, and the only power that I have is my voice. We're using our voice, but we need more. We need more than just using our voice, and we need this generation to realize that, yes, we need you guys to do something, because it's very less that we can do at this age.
You woke up, you smelled the coffee perhaps, and you acted on it. You didn't keep sleeping over it. So that's one lesson for all of us here. But Ramnath, I want to understand from you, since Godrej is a pioneer in sustainable practices across various industries, across all of its industries. Tell us a little bit about, the integration of sustainability into business model and how that's influenced different aspects of business in terms of profitability, consumer behavior, so on and so forth. How difficult or easy has that been, and what has the impact been like?
Absolutely. Am I audible? Yeah. I just want to maybe just take 10 seconds first to say that you were talking about knowledge, and I think you're doing yourself a rather big disservice, because knowledge is not about pretending to know all the answers, it's about asking the right questions. I think you started doing that, so I don't sell yourself short in that sense. Coming to the Godrej perspective, we've been at it for about 2 decades now in terms of integrating sustainability into our business. And what started off as perhaps a good to do sort of initiative has literally become front and center of our business strategy. And I'll be honest with you, companies that aren't doing that right now are already late to the party, because it's not about doing the right thing, it's about survival. And I mean, so many great speakers spoke today, and we spoke so much about the impact that individuals and organizations and corporates have on the planet. But one thing that we've not really spoken about is resilience. And how do we adapt to a changing climate? How our business is equipped to do this? There were some really interesting points that resonated in the earlier panels, one of which was about the investors as well. And, it's sad that even today, one of the first questions I keep getting asked is there a trade-off between profitability and sustainability? Every single financial index in the world is telling you it's exactly the opposite. You look at the Dow Jones Sustainable Index, you look at the MSCI. Companies that are strong on sustainability outperform, on a pure financial perspective, other companies. So I think it's time we stopped asking the question, is it good for business?
But that's a recent trend, right? Perhaps people are still getting used to it.
Over a decade. It's over a decade. If you see the graph over a decade.
So I'm going to take that aspect to everybody.
And the gap is growing every year. Because investors understood that if you're not embedding this in your strategy, you are not prepared for a climate uncertain future. It's purely a matter of de-risking yourself, and you've not de-risked it. So what our approach at Godrej is, the first 10 years, we focus a lot on inward, our own operations. How do we make our impact lower on the environment? How do we reduce our emissions? So all of the Godrej companies are committed to science-based targets, the 1.5-degree target. We're at about 75% renewable energy as a group. We're about 15 times water positive. All of our facilities are zero liquid discharge. We have no waste to landfill. Sounds great. Tons to do still, because unless we look at the entire value chain of our operation, the ecosystems in which we operate, we're still as much at risk as people who've not done anything. Let me put it very bluntly. Because, let's take water as an example. We have 15 times water positive, all of us are zero liquid discharge. Yet, water stress is the number one climate risk for all of our operations. Because it's not about how well you behave, it's how do your neighbors behave. And now we're tackling the really tough questions about value chain. How do we take people along for the ride? How do we talk to...
Some of that was pointed out by Mr. Solanki, that it's not an easy road to walk, and none of us want to do it willingly, right?
And the toughest stakeholder for us to really understand in this is the consumer. Because fundamentally, the question is about, we have to rethink capitalism. I have to rethink, how do I produce less and still make people happy, still keep shareholders happy? And how do I get consumers to consume responsibly? What's the point of building a platinum-rated building if somebody leaves the air conditioning all 24 hours? So these are the tough questions we're grappling with right now, but that's really the focus of our strategy for the next 10 years.
Okay, all right. I want to now talk about plastic, because that's key to the conversations we've been having, and we saw a lovely presentation right at the start. But as far as Pashupati Group is concerned, Saurabh, tell us about how you're leading the charge in terms of recycling. It comes with its own set of challenges, isn't it? Because A, you're to look at profitability. B, you're also dealing with a mindset problem here, because with plastic comes a lot of stereotype, and people say that one has to be increasingly aware of the fact that we need to stop relying on plastic. So how is it that you're looking at its economic benefits while ensuring that we do eventually cater to the need to stop relying on plastic for a sustainable future?
So we've been recycling plastics for the past 2 decades, and we recognize the fact that while recycling has its own benefits, the ultimate goal to achieve sustainability is to reduce plastic consumption overall. but we need to also look at the alternatives we have to plastic. So basically we do have two approaches to it. The conventional approach is to go towards other materials such as aluminium, glass, or paper for the matter. But I'd like to remove a myth here that these materials are more, looking at the first approach, these materials, aluminium, paper, and metal, are more sustainable than plastic. Reports show that these materials are more energy efficient, energy consuming, or more have more GHG emissions than plastics. The second approach is of bioplastic, but it also comes with its own drawbacks. It has generate to replace 3% of bioplastic, there's 5% of the global crop production that goes down. So the most sustainable way to truly incorporate sustainability is to handle plastic responsibility. So we at Pashupati Group, we look towards maximizing the plastic waste in the stream, and we recycle them to make granules equivalent to virgin polymers, and we supply them to brands to replace them with virgin polymers. So the end result is that the need for newer raw materials goes down. So it in turns, if we responsibly handle plastic waste, that is the most sustainable way, and it only contributes to a truly circular economy.
Yes, because conventionally speaking, plastic and sustainability don't go hand in hand. They're not the best of friends, but recycling has been magical in itself, and it really has changed the perception around the usage of plastic. So as long as you're recycling, you're good. But Amar, from plastic, I want to talk about fashion, and that's a huge shift. But sustainable fashion is also a risk that many are now taking. Tell us how that's playing out, and how are consumers behaving or reacting to this concept?
Okay. There is a huge gap between life on social and life in society when it comes to choosing sustainable fashion. I would not say that we are there yet. But at the same time, a consumer cannot be blamed for their choices as well, because sustainability in fashion has been a namesake effort. And like Professor Solanki said, the definition of sustainability has not been complete and has been used to the advantage of the industry. A simple example is it has been told over and over that polyester is bad and cotton is good as sustainable fashion. If we just talk about the usage of resources, like cotton is nowhere good in terms of the water usage, pesticides, soil erosion, all kinds of things. But I'm not saying polyester is the way to go, recycle polyester. In fact, our journey has only been 7 months, and we have already repurposed 100,000 plastic bottles. We made it a mission that we will not touch virgin plastic. But the silver lining here when it comes to consumer behavior is, especially with Gen Zs, there's a lot of chatter happening. So the awareness is very, very high. They do appreciate, in fact, when we started this journey, everybody was skeptical. Is this going to work? But today, a lot of our consumers are appreciating what we're doing. And it's actually, we did not want to be as a sustainable fashion brand. In fact, we wanted our journey, and we still want our journey to make the fashion the right way. Just a bit about myself. I come from Tirupati, Tirumala. I know Indore has been said a couple of times as the cleanest city. I'm not sure how many of you have been to Tirumala. It's the cleanest temple you can find, the whole thing, and has been 0% plastic for last 9 years. And our Honorable Chief Minister, Nara Chandrababu Naidu, who is actually serving his 4th term, also happens to be from Tirupati. So there's a lot of things that have been done. And one thing that I fondly remember him saying in one of his visits to Tirupati is, why invest into picking up waste when you can avoid waste in the first place? And that has become the policy at least in the Tirumala premises. And that also led to us thinking in our journey also. Like, for example, a simple thing, right? Regardless of the fabric, when a pattern is being cut, 25% of the fabric is wasted, right? If you can just save that, a lot of wastage is going away. And sustainability is nothing about reducing the wastage. Like, again, Professor Solanki said, it's avoid, minimize, and generate, right? That, when you do that, it's not only helping the whole purpose part, but it's also helping your profits. My 60% of COGS, which is the cost of goods, is fabric. And 25% of 60% is roughly 9% coming from there. So it's adding straight to my bottom line. So when you do it for the right reasons, everything gets served. That's how we are actually approaching it. And like I said, when you tell the story, the consumers are willing to listen to you and come on board. In 9 months, we've had a phenomenal journey. In fact, all the naysayers at the beginning of the journey started reaching out to us saying, oh, we didn't expect this to go up. And in fact, I don't know if the funding winter has really gone. In last 4 weeks, I've had 4 incoming requests from VCs. Oh, are you raising money? No, not yet.
Okay, no, while that sounds great, I mean, we're all really motivated by the thought of it, but tell us about the real aspect of things when it comes about a venture such as this, because what you have to do at the end of it is also maintain profitability and growth. How do you do that? How do you achieve that? Because fashion is a sector which is extremely fast moving, and with the Gen Z, with the new generation, you know, having made up their mind on what is fashionable for them, how do you tackle that challenge?
Right. So sustainable fashion as it exists today is not going to change anything on any index, because the way it exists today, it's boring, it's expensive, and that is not going to talk to a Gen Z. And these are not mutually exclusive things. In fact, if you just go to Virgio.com, you would find all our styles as trendy as they can be. I mean, there's a polka dots thing that is on almost all runways, and we have a collection we launched, denim collection we've launched. It's not just about reacting to the trend, it's also about how you make it and how responsibly you make it. So there are 3 things that we follow very sincerely: what to make, when to make, how much to make, right? What to make keeps the relevance in the market so that, you know, well, people talk about overconsumption, while it is actually a problem. In fashion industry, a lot of landfills is actually happening because of unsold inventory. Forget about the used inventory. There's unsold inventory. Like over $7 billion worth of fashion is going into landfill every year. That's because of, I would say, technology not being leveraged as much as it should have been. Today, our inventory is less than 4%. Right? It's always generated after the demand. So we know what to make, we know when to make, we know how much to make. And I'm not from fashion industry. I'm actually a computer science grad. In fact, that probably gives me the biggest advantage, and in asking as stupid questions as possible to the industry, saying, why are you guys doing this way? It doesn't make any sense. And that's how we're actually seeing the industry changing. Like when we look at fashion as an industry, there's a lot more that can be done, and thankfully there are a lot of areas where a lot of stuff is being made, but the technology is not leveraged as much as it should be leveraged. In fact, I would actually go ahead and say if there is one industry which has been corrupted by technology, it's fashion, because we all know about this fashion giant from China who's doing this, who's growing enormously and all of it. The funniest thing is, there's a company which is actually using 99% virgin polyester in their portfolio and recently started a $100 million sustainability fund. I mean, this could be the biggest hypocrisy.
The mother of all dichotomies.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there is a large role to be played, and we've just started the journey, and we're really, really encouraged by the reception we are getting from the consumers.
Okay. You know what we should do? Because we're talking about the younger generation, we should ask Ridhima as an activist if she's encouraging conversation around sustainable fashion. Before I pose my next question to you, is that a conversation in your circle?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, in the circle right now, sustainable fashion is like a huge hit. Right now, everybody talks about it. Everybody is cautious. So it's indeed very much talked about in the circle of activists. So everybody who's working in and around this sector, I would say.
Okay, all right, lovely. And what about youth activism in holding corporations accountable in environmental impact? You know, where does your community stand there, and what are the expectations from the corporations really?
I mean, we've had high expectations, to be very honest. We've had like huge expectations. But I think, I mean, as of holding them accountable, see, I mean, as what we can do as younger generation is we do campaigns. We, you know, speak about what we think is not going on in a right way. You know, we always, as an activist, we try with an approach of say, okay, we try to approach in terms of this could be done instead of doing that. But if we see things not moving in that particular area or how we have envisioned it to be, we start off with campaigns, you know, we go on with petitions. That's, you know, I think that's the max that we as activists can do in our power. And with that, I mean, see, I started with filing a petition at the United National Green Tribunal, went on to United Nations. So, I mean, I've done campaigns. So, see, what a young activist or a young person can do from their, you know, at most end is doing campaigns, reaching out, and then making communities aware. But I don't really see much than that, at least till we are under 18.
Okay, for all those who are not aware, Ridhima is also called the Greta Thunberg of India. I don't know if she takes pride in that or she wants to be called by her own name. We're still watching out for your future and a lot of expectations there, Ridhima. Thank you for that. Ramnath, I want to ask you what I just asked Amar with regards to how there's increasing pressure on businesses when it comes to keeping environmental concerns in mind. So how do you keep your business minds give that priority and also look at the long-term environmental goal? How do you strike that balance? Because that's the one challenge everybody, I think, in today's day and time is facing.
I think I briefly touched upon this in my earlier point. I mean, fundamentally, if you are looking at long-term profitability, you have to build an ESG strategy today because you know R&D cycles for manufacturing. I mean, you're not going to make sustainable products 10 years from now if you don't start today. So there are plenty of tools available. The life cycle assessment tool is a great way to actually assess where you are and where your hotspots really are in terms of your problem areas. And using that to then refine your new product development strategy. How do you get R&D to say, okay, we've done an LCA for, say, let's take soaps. We've done LCA for all of our soap products. Here are no-go zones in your new product development. These are the chemicals you stay away from. Okay. Which are more energy-intensive products? Can I make them in places where I have high renewable energy? That's how you start factoring this into your decision-making, into your manufacturing footprint. So honestly, the way you really have to do it is, when I'm talking about embedding ESG into a strategy, essentially my role should be redundant in 10 years, to be very honest, because every single function of an organization should really have sustainability built into their own functions. So what does sustainability mean for R&D? What does it mean for finance? In terms of how you allocate funds, what does it mean for manufacturing? What does it mean for risk? How does your ERM and your risk registry, how do they really look at climate risk as a big factor into what they do? So the way IT got embedded into every single function is the way sustainability has to get embedded into every single function. Honestly, I would love it if my role became redundant in 10 years or shorter. Yeah.
And I want to quickly pose that to Saurabh as well, because I've asked the other two the same. Since there is this increasing pressure and, the businesses across are being forced to resort to more eco-friendly products, so on and so forth. What are the innovating measures that you're adopting as Pashupati Group to position yourself as a leader of sustainability?
So at our company, we have this approach of driving sustainability through innovation by concentrating on R&D and marketing. We've spent the last 2 to 2.5 years in developing a proprietary sorting solution in which we can sort mixed plastic polymer-wise color-wise, brand-wise, and even what background is it coming from? Is it coming from a food-grade background? Is it coming from a non-food-grade background? So we've taken a data-driven approach, and we can even give data on how many bottles of each brand that we have recycled in the stream every day. Through these processes, we've marketed our products to major prestigious brands in this country, and we've also partnered with them to raise consumer awareness on how to handle their waste responsibly, and we've innovated smarter packaging solutions with them also.
Okay, all right, lovely. So a plan is being followed, and the end goal is long-term sustainability, and all of us here agree on the same. Many thanks. Thank you so much for joining us with that insightful chat.